If this came to the Senate floor as a clean vote, I think it would have the votes needed to pass. I think there's only 47 Republican senators who are opposed to it in this manner. So are you in favor of what Mitch McConnell is doing by tying this to things, the poison pills, like the election fraud, be looking into this, and the 230 law repeal?
So this is a little bit of a nuance, and I may not have this exactly right, Becky, but I'm not sure that Senator McConnell insisted that these things all be linked in one legislative vehicle. I think what he was describing is the fact that they share in common a need for the Senate to do some work here, to do an investigation, to maybe go through the committee process, maybe to debate this and consider how to refashion this. So I'm strongly opposed to these blanket universal checks. I know many of my Republican colleagues are as well. We'd be open to how this could be repurposed and retargeted, at least a portion of it. Similarly, with Section 230 of the Communications Act, I think there are some problems there. I think the assumption that these internet platforms are just passive bulletin boards that allow people to post a message and play no other role, I think it's clear that's not true. And given that that's not always true, what should we do differently? But it's not at all clear to me that you just rip out 230 and tear it up and it goes away. I think that could have very dramatic unintended consequences. So my point is, these are fairly complicated. They are important. We shouldn't just go down to the floor and just have a single vote on one single aspect of this. We ought to consider it in its complexity and see if there's a consensus for some path forward.
But, Senator Toomey, just to be clear, there may be nuance involved in this, but what Mitch McConnell did was to make sure that there would not be a straight vote on the floor of the Senate for simply increasing those checks to $2,000, correct?
Right. And I agree with that. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying that I don't think Senator McConnell was saying the only way we will consider this as a package with Section 230 repeal and election reform issues in one vote. I don't think that's what he was saying. I think he's saying we're not going to do this as a freestanding measure now. Let's consider all of these items. They're all, like I said, they're all complex. They're all important. They all deserve attention. But I don't think we should just have a vote, an up or down vote right now on some really bad policy.
So what he's effectively done is mean that it won't be considered in this Congress, right?
That may be the case. But by the way, I would also point out it takes 60 votes in the Senate to pass something, and it's not clear to me that any of these policies have 60 votes. I think we just don't know.
It takes 60 votes if you have to override a veto. It would only take 51 votes, wouldn't it?
No,
to be something that
two-thirds, actually. It's two-thirds to override a veto. It's 60 votes under the Senate rules to pass almost anything. There are some exceptions, but none of these items come under the category of those exceptions. It would take 60 votes.
Then why not just vote on it?
Because, as I said, I think it's a very, very badly flawed proposal. I don't think it has the 60 votes, or certainly may not. And we could come back with something that would have a much broader support because it's more targeted, rather than spending literally $630 billion, most of which will go to people who have had no loss of income.
I understand your point on all of those things, but I also think that you think that what's been done in this bill that has been passed and signed by the president is probably enough for now. Am I wrong to assume that?
Look, I'm open to suggestions if there are categories of people that fall through the cracks, as you say, despite the expanded eligibility of unemployment, despite increasing the amount of the unemployment benefits, despite all of the other aid programs that have been plussed up. If there's still people that are falling through the cracks, I'm totally open to learning about that and figuring out what's the best way to address that. But we did a lot of work for a lot of months, Democrats and Republicans and the administration, to try to cover people who were in adverse circumstances. I know we went a long way towards accomplishing that. It is a $900 billion bill. That's a lot of money. If there are people remaining, then I'm totally open to doing something additional. But you know how I feel about the blanket universal checks.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.